Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Snowstorm. On a day when Donald Trump's legal team seems to have argued that he should get away with anything, even assassinating people, it's time to speak with a Democratic warrior. She's coming up on the show. We've got a lot to talk about, and this is the Snowstorm. Before she became one of California's leading Democrat activists, we practiced this, Elle Kurpiewski, Elle K to almost everyone, was raised in the military, attended Florida Atlantic University, and was a flight attendant for 24 years with United Airlines. She served as the Legislative Affairs Chair for 17 years, representing the Association of Flight Attendants while flying, of course. She was also the Democratic candidate running against Mary Bono in 2002, and in 2008 she was part of the team that opened the Democratic headquarters of the desert, where she remains as political director, and she's called the Coachella Valley home since 1989. Did I see that? Yes, that's true, and I said that correctly. The reason I'm looking over here is I'm also currently on Instagram Live, Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and embedded at PromoHomo.TV. And speaking of which, if you are watching live and you comment on one of those social media outlets other than Instagram, I can curate your comments into the show. And I can see over on Instagram Live that River Cabby has joined, Gary and Michael and Edwin from Asia Media has joined as well. So it looks like we have an international audience. You know, this show has no commercials because I don't want anybody telling me not to talk about the hot topics. So I am relying on viewers to support the show. I want to welcome Russ Ramirez, who's joined the Sticker Squad. Aaron Terry has upgraded to the Skip a Latte Club. Welcome brand new Pride Parader David Oliveris, and Rock May is the new associate producer. And I'm excited to say that I have actually updated the closing credits to include new members, which is what was important to me. And, this is the seventh broadcast of the Snowstorm, the eighth broadcast, the beginning of the second week of the Snowstorm. And I have to say we're a hit, and I want to thank you. The podcast version has already been picked up on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, and iHeartRadio. With more podcast platforms coming up. I invite your support, and that is my soft sell. We have a lot to talk about. I don't want to take up any more time before I bring on tonight's very special guest in just a moment. PromoHomo.TV is all about empowering you, our communities, and our world. Shouting out to my media partners. Pink Media, amplifying PromoHomo.TV across the Twitterverse with their #ILoveGay campaign. GayDesertGuide.lgbt. And KGay 1065 Palm Springs, available worldwide. Ask your smart speaker to play KGAY. It's as simple as this. We will save our democracy in 2024, or we will watch the United States implode. I'm Nicholas Snow, and this crisis we face is why I have launched the Snowstorm, a nightly hot topics panel discussion show in which I will curate your social media comments into the show, and we will connect the conversation to action we can take to save America.
Watch the Snowstorm nightly at 6 p.m. Pacific at PromoHomo.TV.
And before I bring on Elle K, I want to promote tomorrow night's episode. My guest will be Dante King, author, leader, speaker, innovator. We're going to be speaking about his provocative but very important new book, The 400-Year Holocaust, White America's Legal, Psychopathic, and sociopathic black genocide, and the recall. No, I'm sorry. The rebellion against critical race theory, something like that. I couldn't see the small print in the graphic in front of me. That's going to be a really important show, and I invite you to join me. So without further delay, let me welcome my special guest tonight, Elle K. Hi, Elle.
Hi, Nicholas. It's so good to be with you. By the way, I flew for 34 years with United Airlines as a flight attendant, but it's really good to be with you. As we were talking earlier, I generally see you at events, and so it's a real pleasure to have this kind of a dialogue with you about what's going on in our country.
Well, thank you for that. And it's important for me to have conversations like this with you and people like you from throughout the country and even the world about the rise of fascism and the continuing assault on black and brown people, the dehumanization of immigrants, the effort to roll back rights offered to the dreamers. We could go on and on. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, it appears that Donald Trump's legal team is arguing that he should have the right to do anything, including assassinate people with impunity. And I know that your answer to this question is yes. Is democracy at stake?
Absolutely.
So I would love for you to say to let the viewers know who may not get it yet. Why is democracy at stake? What are the indicators?
Well, the indicators are that the Republican Party has become a cult under one man. And that one man, who, according to his first wife, remember there's been a couple more of those, one of his favorite things was to keep the book Mein Kampf next to his bed. This is a man who has stated.
Yet he says he's never read it.
That's a possibility as well.
And he seems to be quoting from it quite a bit in speeches.
It's really interesting for someone who said he hadn't read it. He's been quoting from it. The problem is this. The American public, in my opinion, has become complacent. We lost the 2016 election, although we actually did not lose the 2016 election to that man. Hillary Clinton won more votes than he did. But we have a thing called the Electoral College. What he did during the 4 years he was in the White House should have been a wake-up call for everyone, because there was no question that it was my way or the highway. He's very much in a dictator mode. To give this man 4 more years, I truly, in my heart, and I hate to say it, but I am very concerned that democracy cannot survive 4 years of that man. He has made it very clear that he plans revenge. He has used that term frequently in his speeches in Iowa, in New Hampshire, as he's been campaigning. He wants revenge. He calls anyone who disagrees with him, as in the Democratic Party, we're vermin. And what concerns me even more so than just his rhetoric is the rhetoric of some of the people that follow him who have a platform. For example, there's a gentleman, I use that term loosely, named Mark Levin. And he has a program on every afternoon on I won't say the station, but it's local. He's nationally syndicated. And then on Sunday,
is this a radio show?
It's a radio show, and then
Okay.
he has a show on Fox on Sunday afternoon. This man screams every single time he's on the air. He has a current book out that says Democrats hate America. Now, this kind of rhetoric is frightening because we're seeing what's happening because of this man that is literally the cult leader, in my opinion. And, I want to bring up something else that hasn't been really brought up enough, in my opinion. It's not just about him killing democracy. It's not just about him throwing out the Constitution. He has stated publicly there's no need for the Constitution. We saw what happened, for those that did not hear, the trial this morning, the arguments that were being made were totally absurd. I mean, you can't go after him criminally if he hasn't been convicted and if he hasn't been impeached and convicted. Seriously? And one of the judges said, so you're saying he could activate SEAL 6, the Navy's elite team, to go out and kill his enemies? Well,
his
no.
political enemies.
We didn't really mean that. Yeah, you did. That's exactly what he's talking about. But here's the other thing that has to be brought up, Hank, that scares me so much. It's not just the United States. Take a look what's happening in Hungary. Take a look at what's happening in parts of Africa. Take a look at what's happening in South America. We have dictators that are coming into election cycles and they are winning. They are going after the LGBTQ community. They are going after feminists. They are going after anyone who disagrees with them. You put a man like he who shall not be named in the White House, and he's now created a worldwide network that to me is extremely frightening. It will complete, if you want to really get scary about it, it's a possibility of completing what Hitler started.
Well, when Joy Silver was on my show last week, she's also a Warrior Democrat.
Truly.
One of the points that she really wanted to make was the radical right is using our emotional differences to divide us. Their goal is to divide us. So they're delving into the emotional and philosophical and political conflicts that arise from the conflict in the Middle East and other issues, and trying to turn us against each other. So our eye is off the ball, and we don't remember that those conflicts may be true, and there are different sides of the problems, and we need to figure out together solutions. But none of them are more severe than losing the democracy that has existed in this country. And I unfortunately have some breaking news that I just got a little bit earlier. After hours of testimony almost universally in opposition, South Carolina House Subcommittee advances ban on medically necessary health care for transgender youth. And in response, advocates will rally at the South Carolina State House tomorrow for a day of action for freedom in South Carolina. So that's another incidence where trans lives, trans people are being attacked, and fear is being perpetuated. We have a viewer, Rob Carl, who says, I agree with Rob is going to be on my show in 2 nights from now. He says, I agree with what's being said. Why do people vote against their own self-interest? I hope that's the Rob who's on my show in 2 nights. What would you like to say about that?
I think the answer to that question is that we have unfortunately become so inundated with the media. And so I don't know that everyone's paying attention as well as they should of what's going on. Again, I try to listen. I can only take about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but I do try to listen to Fox just to hear what they're saying. And that's how I discovered this horrible, horrible commentator named Mark Levin, I guess it is. You listen to Sean Hannity, you listen to some of the other commentators on those programs, and people are listening to that and they're buying it. Or worse for us, they're turning it off. They reached a point where they've had enough and they just can't listen to this anymore. And my concern is that we have to find a way as Democrats, and we've talked about this many times, we have to start saying what we're doing, and what we're doing is right. And it affects people and their lives now. The infrastructure bill.
And not only Democrats, but independents and
Yes,
Republicans that see through Trump's smoke screens.
exactly.
So after the break, Ellie, I want to talk about things that I and the viewers can do, and some of the things that you're already engaged with. I'll be back with Elle K after this. And one more spot for you. This particular shirt is the crux of the Hopeful Sexual campaign, and it is designed to inspire authentic human connection while simultaneously combating sexuality-based shame and stigma. And the really cool thing is, if you go to hopefulsexual.com, it takes you to an Amazon store where this shirt is available in all sorts of styles, sizes, and colors. And I use the revenue to fund PromoHomo.TV. So check it out. I think almost everyone is a hopeful sexual, don't you? And just a reminder of my guest tomorrow night, and this time I'm not going to slaughter the name of his book. Dante King has written The 400-Year Holocaust, White America's Legal, Psychopathic, and Sociopathic Black Genocide, and the Revolt Against Critical Race Theory. It's a very important work, and I look forward to profiling him. And now, Ellie and I will continue. One of the things I want to do with the show is inspire people to connect it to action, not only here in the Coachella Valley where you and I reside, but what can people everywhere do?
Vote. But before you vote, make sure you're registered. The main thing that people have to understand, a couple of things that have really been coming up more and more lately. In the last election cycle, when we had an outstanding candidate named Will Rollins running against Ken Calvert, Will lost by very few votes and had more Democrats actually voted, like 1,000, literally, he would have won. So we have the same situation going on around the country. People have to understand that if they're going to complain, if they're going to offer solutions, if they're going to be afraid, if they're going to just sit by, they are losing their voice. And their voice is their vote. So what people need to do is, number one, make sure you're registered to vote. If you have moved, if you've changed your name, if you have, if you've moved or if you've changed your name, you need to re-register. We've had people come into the Democratic headquarters of the desert. And by the way, we're now open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We'll go to a 5-day, probably in February with the election in March. But we're registering people to vote. That vote is your voice. And if you don't use your voice, in all honesty, my feeling towards you is shut up. You've lost your voice. You couldn't take the ballots come by mail. How difficult is it to sit down in your favorite chair with your favorite beverage and vote. The postage is already paid for you. All you have to do is vote, fold it up, put it in the mail, and you have voted. The thing also that people can do is get engaged. It's interesting that when people become involved, they are now putting themselves out there. So you can do phone banking, you can do texting, you can walk canvases for your candidate. You can write postcards. We did out of the Democratic headquarters, we did thousands of postcards to people that don't vote very often. Result, people are registering to vote. And I want to bring up one other thing that's been brought up recently, and this is a little not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea, because what I was going to bring up was in the LA Times today. There were some letters to the editor. People are saying, change your registration from Democrat to Republican, and then you can vote for Nikki Haley, or you can vote for whatever for the primary. Wrong. Don't do that. Look, we already know he's going to be on the ballot. You're wasting a vote. And more importantly, we have candidates running for U.S. Senate. We have Adam Schiff. We have Katie Porter. We have Barbara Lee. One of those people is going to be on, or two, are going to be on the ballot for U.S. Senate seat that we'll be voting on in November. You've just eliminated that if you've changed your registration. You can't vote. You can't vote for Will Rollins and make sure that he gets so many votes in the primary that Ken Calvert will actually have to debate him this time. I mean, there's no reason to do that. I urge people not to do it. It sounds good. You think you're making a point. No, you're not. You're wasting your vote. And again, register to vote, please.
So thank you for that. One of the things that, by the way, you can register to vote. You can pick up your voter registration at the post office, right?
You certainly can. You can come by the Democratic headquarters of the desert. We have them. You can go online. Just go to the Riverside County Register of Voters. You can register online.
Or wherever you might live in the United States. Just
Anywhere.
Look up Registrar of Voters,
Exactly.
voter registration for your area. Make sure you're not being taken to some sort of false site looking to steal your identity.
True.
Or fool you into registering for a party that you don't want to register
Exactly.
for.
You can go to city halls. You can go to the DMV. There's a lot of places you can go and register to vote. Main thing is register.
So what I find surprising is that I'm watching the news networks, and the pundits and panelists and are saying people aren't really paying attention to the polls right now, and people aren't really paying attention to this election right now. And I'm thinking to myself, what people are not paying attention? It's like I can't not pay attention. I started a nightly show on top of working a 40-hour week to address this issue. Do you think that there are a lot of people out there, Ellie, that are not paying attention?
Right now, yes. But
And it's because they're just overwhelmed with their own lives and trying to make ends meet and dealing with their own challenges?
They're overwhelmed by the information. Again, I go back to every night, the lead story, whether it's MSNBC, CNN, or Fox. What's the lead story? The guy from Mar-a-Lago. Okay? People they're fried right now. And we're noticing this. But I will also tell you that in this past year, we've seen more young people becoming engaged into the political arena. They're registering voters. They're walking the precincts. They're talking with their friends. And we're finding this all over the country, by the way. If one more person tells me the young people aren't voting and the young people don't care, I will not be able to control my temper, because they are getting involved. I also want to remind everyone, it's only January. As things pick up over the summer months, I think we're going to see a lot of things where people are going to perk up their interest, and they're going to go, okay, what we have to do as people who speak out is speak out. We need to let people know when we talk with people, whether it's in a, at a party or wherever you are, let people know what's at stake. And it's democracy. It's our country that is at stake.
Well, as Lawrence O'Donnell would do, I would like to give you the last word. So, how would you like to leave us?
I would like to say, first of all, thank you. Congratulations on this program. I'm certainly going to become an avid viewer. But secondly, I do remind people, and you can call the Democratic headquarters of the desert. Even if you're out of the country, we have people that call us every once in a while. We're at 760-328-9425. Love to talk with you. We've got a lot of things that we can put people to work on. We have to come together on this one, and we have got to understand what's at stake. So I thank you for this.
Well, you're welcome. And the website is very easy. Democratic Headquarters of the Desert. Is it .com?
.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Democratic Headquarters of the Desert.org for anybody here in the desert. I really appreciate you. I've admired you for a long time. Thank you for being on the front lines. You rock.
Well, thank you. And you're rocking and rolling in yourself. I can tell you that. So I appreciate that. I know that all of your viewers are going to appreciate what you're doing. This show is terrific.
Thank you. Rob says that he enjoys your positive attitude and excellent information, as do I. So thanks again, Ellie. I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Absolutely. And anytime. Thank you so much. You take care, my friend.
You too. Good night. Good night, everybody.
In a safe place, I got room to breathe. Been a long chase, but at last I'm free. These open woods, I knew I could find peace here. Nothing like the city where I got tired of the running, the catching up. I got hungry for the stunning high mountain tops. Some plans, some dreams to catch, to promised lands, to find my path, see the planet from greater heights. I have found a place out of time and space, far from city lights, up on see the blue sky, feel the wind that blows. Get the rush in, heaven